have got knocked down in a storm or something.
It's a pretty selective storm.
What are they doing?
Can we just leave, please? Jim!
In this dirty old part of the city,
Maybe we missed the sign for the highway.
We didn't miss the sign.
where the sun refused to shine.
Can I help you?
We got on a detour off the highway and cell service around
Got
here.
your family with you?
Yeah. I was wondering if you could point me in the direction of the highway.
Not a problem.
And one thing I know is true.
What he said?
Stay on the road.
You're dead before your time is
Did we turn somewhere?
God damn it.
Jim, we're driving in circles. You drove out this way. How did we get back here? Oh my God!
Everybody in there okay?
This is impossible.
Yeah, it is.
Where are we?
I know none of this makes sense yet. Everyone in this town has been exactly where you are right now. Everyone sees the tree. Those throws.
We'll just get out of here, please.
Kevin, we are stuck.
We didn't come here. We were brought.
What are you doing?
I'm checking to see if they moved.
If what moved?
The trees.
It's important for you to understand what happens after dark.
Lock your door, nail your window shut. You do these things, your family's gonna be safe.
Safe from what?
I've missed you so much.
Megan, what are you doing?
Maybe I can come in.
This is what happens when you break the rules.
They're coming.
There's only so many places we can go.
What are they?
You believe in monsters.
Please don't.
A man protects his family.
Get these people home, Sheriff.
Do everything I can.
Promise me.
Hi, my name is Gil Robertson, president of the African American Film Critics Association. Today, we are thrilled to be talking to Mr. Harold Perriman, the star of the Epix hit show, From. We're going to kick things off by introducing you to the AAFCA members who are on the call today, beginning with our facilitator, Katia Woods in Philadelphia, Emmanuel Noisette in Chicago, Carolyn Hines in Toronto, Thomasina Farr in Philadelphia, Janita Davis in Indiana, Dana Abercrombie in New York City, Jill Monroe in Los Angeles, Nancy Green in Baltimore, and Karan Lenoir in Charlottesville, Virginia. I'm gonna let you guys do what you do so well, and I will see you on the other side.
Good afternoon, Harold. My name is Thomasina from Philadelphia. My site is musicmoviesthoughts.com. I'm a fan of your work. I'm a fan of this show. I'm loving it. And one of the things I really enjoy about the show is how each character is interpreting their trauma respectively, considering what's happening. And in episode 8, we see one of Boyd's most traumatic experiences with the death of his wife. I'm wondering if you could talk about that episode a little and how you interpreted his trauma and processed it into your performance.
Well, yeah, wow. Starting off with the big questions. We're not playing around here, are we? That story is one that I had them tell me well before we started shooting, because they originally were talking about the character like he's got a lot of trauma and he's got this and he's there with his son and they're estranged, and I was like, why? And at first they were a little hesitant, and I was like, look, I totally get that, but I kind of need to know where we're going here. You know what I mean? Like, he's traumatized because his wife wasn't on the trip. He's traumatized because his wife fell in the ocean. He's traumatized, like, what's the deal? And so when we find out that this is, you know, basically Sophie's choice, his wife or his son, like, that's a different kind of heavy that you're carrying. You know what I mean? You're carrying the weight of, man, if I could have 2 seconds back, this would be different. Just 2 seconds more to think. That's really it. You know, my life would be different. The weight of that, and then like allowing his son to carry his own grief is another form of, like, you know, the parent job, like the good parent job. Like, my instincts might be like, no, come over here, and like, we're gonna talk about, I'm not letting you go, but like allowing him the breath to like find his own way and so you just have to watch him separate from you. Those are all, you know, things that, you know, I can find some piece of my life being a father myself, being a married man myself. I can find some piece of my life to fit into this traumatic thing, having lost my mom, like my tether to the planet. You know, carrying that around is quite similar to a grief that you might have from losing a spouse in a traumatic way. My mom's loss was traumatic, and so for me it was traumatic, and something you carry with you all the time, and you find ways to navigate. So that's kind of how I took it and used it to sort of add to the weight of who the character was, and to the way he walks around, but still be of service, but to still do your job and be of service, because otherwise you'll crumble. Like, you'll just crumble, and there's too much at stake. And so that's, for me, that's how I processed it for this character.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Harold, this is E-Man from the Movie Blog out here in Chicago.
Hello.
Now, this show has been doing a phenomenal job with building suspense and hyping things up all the way to the very end. And you're no stranger to this, coming from a similar show like Lost, that had people captivated all the way to the very end. However, with that show, some fans felt pretty disappointed with the way it ended. How do you think From will avoid that level of disappointment?
Well, here's the thing. I had the very same question when I got the gig. I was like, listen, like, I love being on Lost and everybody dug it, but I don't want to walk around like I just did, like everybody going like, did you like that ending? I mean, cause you know what I mean? I was like, there's a lot. And so they were like, listen to me, listen, we actually have this show written out. We were also part of that. We also got that blowback. We know how to tell the story. It's not 22 episodes a year, it's 10. It's succinct. We answer some questions, we pose some others, and then we go to the end. So lay back, trust us. And I was like, for real? But for real? And they were like, yes, for real. So that's what I know. And I know that both of these guys, Jeff Pinkner and Jack Bender, both not only know how to tell stories, but like they were part of that Lost thing too. And none of us want that smoke anymore. We don't want to deal with the not answering questions. But for the first part of it, yeah, there's a lot of cliffhangers. We want you to keep coming back. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to enjoy the people that enjoy the ride. But we want you to come back. And if we wrap it all up, you could be, you know, like, I know how it ends, and move on. So that's how I think we change. We address all that stuff.
Thank you so much. And I'm gonna need you to carry some more bug spray next time.
That may or may not have helped. I don't know what kind of, you see those trees, they're all over the place. What kind of spiders are these? Crazy.
Hi, Harry. Carolyn Fletcher. Here's what happened in Karen Talks podcast. Thank you so much for talking with us today. So within the first 7 minutes of this show, I one of my foundations of being a horror fan is when I see white children, I don't trust them because things always go bad. And there's particular character archetypes when it comes to horror genres that you don't trust and some you do trust. Like for me, it's white children and priests. and Free. So for you, I want you to talk a bit about what kind of characters do you, as a fan of horror and playing this character in From, would you trust inherently, and others that you don't trust? So like, what would you tell the viewers? This is who you should trust, this is who you shouldn't trust.
Okay, so let me start off by saying I'm not necessarily a huge fan of horror at all, but I totally hear you. The whole Children of Corn with the white kids it's really tricky. But I think especially in this show, when you kill the character within the first 7 minutes, you kind of know we're not playing here. Like this is and everybody is someone you'd be scared of. But like generally speaking, in horror, whenever there's like a pretty little girl, like or whatever, like no. You don't want to be with her. You don't want her to help you. You actually don't want to be around her because she might be a vessel for something. Like that for me, that's like no, like especially if like you're blonde or something like I'm good. I'll just stay over here because you know they're not gonna kill you. They're gonna kill me, especially me first. So no. So that's kind of how I feel about like horrors. I'm like, nah, they're gonna kill the black dude. I seen that. I don't want to do it. So that's what I think about it.
Thank you so much. I love your answer because that is very much me. The way we know how it is with the black people, the first to get bumped off. You don't go looking for answers with that. Thank you. Thanks.
Nah, not with you. Not with you. I'll go with that dude over there, the quirky guy. I'll go with him. They might kill him first, but not you for sure. You're gonna laugh.
Hi, Katya Woods, Couple Social and the Philadelphia Tribune. One thing I must say, your character is better than me. He constantly has to remind people of what is at stake. At some point, I would have been like, you know, you either get it or you don't, beloved, and you are on your own. I have done my best. Talk about what that is like as an actor, because just as a person watching it, I'm like, we explaining this again? Like we did the show and tell, how many people have to die? At what point, like I know maybe you as Harold would have been like, I'm sitting at the house. But at what point, what was it like having to embody that? Because, you know, as human beings, we're not exactly fast learners always. Right. And there's this nature of us wanting to still put ourselves out there when we really should be like, we can't save everybody. Right. Well, the cool thing I think about Boyd is that, you know, he has a military background. And like whatever you might think about them, the military or how people get there, I do believe sort of foundationally for many people in the military, they are there to be of service. You know, how you get there, we can discuss all that, but you are there to put literally your life on the line to be of service to the country that you live in. That is foundationally maybe who you are. And so that was the premise I lent to Boyd, that foundationally, he is there to be of service. He is a man of service. He cares about his family. He cares about the community. He cares about building it. And he will step up when times are rough, when it gets tricky. He'll ask questions. It may confuse him, but he will always step up. And so I think I built that into the way he is because, you know, human beings are tricky. I built a box. I built a thing. If you don't do right, you're gonna get there and you're gonna be monster food. And even that wasn't enough to stop the dude from going out and drinking and staying out all night, you know what I mean? And so then he has to ask the real serious question, is that what I meant? Is that what I meant? And you know, and the priest puts him back on lines like, yeah, is it what you meant? And so I think those things are fun things to play. I think they're great questions to ask. You know, I remember, you know, sometimes with my kid, my daughter is actually sitting here listening to this. And so this is going to be a reveal for her. But, you know, that when she was really young, I used to be like, you don't want me to get that belt, do you? Now, I wasn't ever planning on getting the belt, but I wanted her to be like, oh, let me stop. And at some point she was like, but you're not going to get the belt, right? But it gave me a couple of years of like, she would listen up. You know what I mean? And so I think I built that into Boyd, like, we're going to try. Because I can't not keep raising my kids. And so it's the same thing. You can't not be of service. You can't not keep trying to get these people out of the town. And so when I'm building the character, those are things that I build in so that when it comes up, because you might say exactly that, like, man, I told you, like, go ahead, get eaten. What do I care? Like, you know, get out of here. So I had to build those things in to make it make sense for the character.
I'm Jonita Davis from the Black Cape. My question is more about your career, your filmology. I was surprised. I kind of got into an argument with someone because I'm interviewing Howard Paranel. He's the sci-fi horror guy. And she's like, no, he's not. And I'm like, yes, Constantine, you've got Lost, you've got Blade, the voice of, in this show from. She's like, no, he's in The Rookie. He's got that movie Sabotage. She started just naming off, and I'm like looking at your filmography, your sci-fi, horror, action, drama. So what would you consider as your, overall legacy if somebody had to peg you as, I try to, the sci-fi horror guy? Are you that, or are you more of the action, or are you just a man of all trades?
This is a really funny, not a funny question, but it reminds me of a thing before I actually knew how I was going to do it. And somebody asked me about what I want to do. And I was like, oh, I want to be an actor. And they were like, oh, you just want to be famous. I was like, nah, I don't want to be famous. I want to be an actor. And I just want to do all the stuff. If I get famous, whatever. That's the thing you can say when you ain't never done nothing. You know what I mean? Because later on you realize if you get famous, you could do it all. But until then, you really can't. But when I consider myself fundamentally the thing that I really do like being an actor. And so if you call me a sci-fi guy, I'm okay with that. If you call me oh, he's the rom-com guy because he was, Merch and the best band, I'm cool with that. Because at the end of the day, what I've wanted to do and what I've been really, really lucky to be able to do was play quite a wide range of things, in a lot of different mediums. I love being in theater, so I've gotten a chance to be on stage. I started out there, and TV now is kind of turning into that big, long storytelling kind of thing. If you're doing a play, you could be doing it for months, and TV sort of is doing that kind of like that. But so I'm finding a real a good time doing that. But I'm also still a big fan of we got 2 hours and we're in a movie theater. If movie theaters are going to exist anymore, I don't know. And then telling a story from A to Z in 2 hours. I really just like being an actor. So at the end of the day, I hope the original thing that I said about myself, I hope that's really true. When people look at my legacy and they go oh, what do you think of that guy? I go oh, that dude was an actor. He really liked to act. That's what he liked to do. And that is really, truly, fundamentally what I like to do. So I don't care what genre it is. It doesn't, I'm lucky. I'm a lucky dude. I gotten to do a lot, so I can't complain.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Dana Abercrombie from the Coalition. I was wondering really quickly, in episode 9 really seemed to be an introspective. We get to learn more about the characters and how complicated they really are underneath the surface. Right. But also you can argue that there was a moment where humans make things more complicated than they need to be. There was a scene particularly with Jade and I believe it was Tien Chin Lu, where there was a whole thing about I need power for the antenna. Oh my God, I need the power. And she was like, well, just turn on the light. There you go.
Right.
So I was wondering, could you say that is a lot of how either Boyd or the other characters are, where we tend to make things more complicated than they need to be?
I definitely do. I think, this is one of the reasons I actually like doing shows like this, because they make us ask ourselves, at the end of the day, it's just a show, it's just a TV show, but they make us ask real interesting questions about ourselves as humans. And that's the part that's really, really fun for me. So do I think, even as Boyd, yeah, I think people make things way more difficult. Look, here are the rules. Here's what you have to do. You have to come home at night. You make sure the windows are nailed shut. You do the thing, your family will be safe, all of us will be good. No, homeboy has to be at the bar, drinking, fall asleep, his daughter leave. They do really make things complicated because the answers sometimes can be really simple. But that's that great thing or the illusion or the reality of we have choices, right? However you see that, people have choices. Jay just he's so smart and he's so, burdened by being such a genius that yeah, there's the electricity right there, homie, relax. And so, and people, you know, in the journey of life, I think that's what you have to do. And so it's fun when you're creating characters to like look at that kind of stuff and try to really lean into what human beings really do, because at the end of the day, what we're all going to respond to, we're going to respond to the human beings. We're not necessarily going to respond to the monsters or the threat, but we're going to respond to the human response to what's happening out there. And so, yeah, I love that question. I love this idea, like, do people make things more difficult? Yeah, all the time. And so you have to build that into when you're creating the characters, but all the time.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Jill Monroe, YouTube, Stiletto Jill, and Jackson Stiletto Jill. So Harold, my question is, I noticed that whenever everyone came to the town when they couldn't get out, they were dealing with an emotional trauma or something that happened in their life that they were learning to or trying to deal with moving beyond. So my question is, for season 1, were the terrors for this particular group of people, there are outside terrors, but was it more the internal struggles that they are dealing with, getting to the heart of those emotional traumatic events, and the outside monsters are a symbolism of that?
I think that this first season really talks about that, because I know one of the things that they stressed to me when they said to me, like, look, we have a succinct story to tell. The monsters are just the first part of it. That's just that, like, it gets so much worse when we get out into the forest, right? So that's the first part of it. And I think it really is symbolic that those outside monsters, right? Those are just, you know, they're a thing. How you're going to live your life while those things are there makes you address the monsters inside, makes you address like what happens when your marriage falls apart, and how do you like now try to find a way with all this scary stuff out to really grab onto what's really important for you, and can you grab onto what's really important, because are the monsters so deep inside you that you actually can't? That you like the guy who like eventually opens the window in episode 7. Like, if you're looking for a girl, you're at the right house. They are there aplenty, and they're all down for anything that you want to do. But this dude needs to deal with something else, and so opens a window, like is vulnerable to open a window to the girl outside. You see what I said about the little white girls? I don't mess with them in the horror movies. Don't mess, leave them alone. They will ruin you. They'll destroy your whole thing. But like, you know, whatever was happening for him inside, you have it all. It's right. You're in, you know, Valhalla. You know, this is Bohemia. You got it, bro. Like, get it. Go get you some. But no, he wants to go out. So I think, yes, the first season really is not only those monsters, they're symbolic of what they're all dealing with inside as well, and how do they get around that, and then what you create from that. Like Ellis and Fatima, my son and his girlfriend, you know, he has to deal with this old trauma, but then finds the love of his life, you know, in there, still hating his dad, you know, like, and she goes like, we got to address this. Like, you know, like I came from a place where we didn't even get the chance to address anything with my dad, like, and so we got to make the best of it. Anyway, so yes, I think you're spot on in your observation about, you know, the monsters without being being representative of the monsters within, and how hard that is to deal with. I think you're spot on.
Hey, Harold, it's Karan from Karanism.com and Love Music Pleasure.
Hey.
First, I want to say thank you for acknowledging the real intent behind people who serve, because I'm one of them. I'm a vet, so thank you so much for acknowledging that. That means a lot to me.
Oh, I mean, I hope that I was right about it. So like,
you were right about for most people I know.
Okay, great.
I was really excited about the exquisite detail of the gore.
Oh, okay.
It was exquisite. It was
Ooh.
gross and wonderful. And I'm just wondering, what was the most fun about working with that team, with the artistic team behind the scenes, because it's really fantastic.
You know, it's actually what you're saying about the exquisite detail. That's the part that's really, really cool. Like you know, when we got the scripts, we had no idea what the monsters were going to look like. It just says, you know, they change and stuff like that. And then when we saw them, I mean, they're grotesque. They're grotesque. And so it was like, so what is that? And they were like, well, we started off with this idea of a worm that burrows. And like, we thought like if you burrowed, and they have all of these different references to make up the thing, the tentacles that are happening, the speed with which it happens. And it's so detailed and so like, and so if you'll ever get a shot of like, or take a screenshot of the monsters, you could probably figure out all the different parts of what animals they use, which insects they use, the different ways each one of those animals move and what they do to you. You know what I mean? Like the burrowing in, like the girl who kisses the guy, and she just burrows into his body, which is what those kind of like digging worms do. It's really, really beautiful and scary and exquisite, and that they do this thing that kind of leave your face, but it's your insides that they devour.
Right.
And, like, it's so curious. It's so, and that they play with it. Like they just take the time. Like it's so grotesque. Like if you were to think about like, what could keep looking at my face while they are chewing my insides? What kind of monster is that? It's grotesque.
It's fantastic. It is. But it's really wonderful to see because we're not used to seeing you in gory environments.
No, not like that, really.
You carry the whole town on your shoulders. So thank you so much for answering that question.
Yes, man, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Green with Film Critique. And hi, I want to say, first of all, I absolutely love the show and I have so many questions, but I'm going to try to keep it short.
Got it.
Okay, one of the things that I really, really love about this show is the community and the way that Boyd brings everybody together and just seems to know what to do. And so when he goes out into the woods and is exploring, I wanted to know if you could talk a bit more about that and the sense of community and how that stretches back to what he's able to do to keep people safe.
Yes, great. That's a really good thing. Like, question. So like I said, like he's a guy of service, and you know, when we do the flashback and you realize that he's a military guy who set up some things in Afghanistan, but his wife is she's the real Marine. She really knows how to corral people. I think, you know, for me, it suggested that he wasn't planning on necessarily being that kind of a leader. Like he's planning on being like a setup guy, but he wasn't planning on doing that. But then once he loses his wife, he has to step up and do this next bit that he wasn't planning on doing. And I talk about him as a step-up guy all the time. When he finally realizes that Kenny needs a dad, he has to step up. When his son needs his space, he has to step up and do that thing. And so when he realizes that his body is starting to go away, you know, I think it's just in his nature. I think it's just what he's been doing the whole time. And it's like, before I'm of no value to this group, I have to with every ounce of who I am, try to find us a way out of here. And I think he believes that he really is going to get out of there. He has one moment where he goes like, okay, I failed. In the final episodes, he's like, oh, okay, I failed. And then the girl gives him that boost to like, no, we have to keep going. And so he keeps trying. But I think that's what he's brought to the town. That's what he consistently does. Even when, you know, he's slapping some dude in the face, what he's trying to do is get everybody on track so we can live the best that we can until we can get out. He's being of service. And I think that's just what he does. I think that's just built in. And so when he goes out, he has to even try to understand this kid, though he wants to, you know, put her in the box. He doesn't even want to deal with her. Like, you know, she's a problem. I don't need a problem. I need her to go. But he realizes that Khatri is right. She's connected. And what's happening to her isn't her. And that somehow he can have empathy for that. he can try to keep himself safe from it, but he can also use it. So all those things are at play for him as he's trying to do the thing that he feels like he has to do, which is get these people out of this town. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yes, it does. It's very nice. And I personally, I don't think that this is like as much like Lost. I find the monsters, there's just something different about them, especially the way they smile and go after people and all of the things in the forest. So
yeah,
I love it though. I love it. I'm
yeah, I
obsessed.
think so. I don't think it's that much like Lost. I think some of the storytelling aspect, and because me and the team, that people, they do a couple of things that do feel like Lost. Some of the music is like they set it up, it's similar, but I'm with you. I think it's a whole different world, a really, really different world. And so, and like we were talking about the monsters before, they are terrible, and they're just the beginning. Woo! It's gonna get really fun.
Nice.
It's gonna get real fun.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharonda Williams, Pay Your Weight. One of the things that I really enjoy about this show is really the exploration of those familial bonds that we have. And a lot of the actions that the characters have throughout the course of the season either harm or affect those relationships, or harm or help those relationships. And I wanted to know for you, if you can share more about the importance of Ellis and Boyd having that conversation or that reconciliation before Boyd actually starts his voyage into the woods. And also too, just reflecting on that dynamic, has that challenged your views as a parent after participating on the show?
That's a great question. I don't think it challenged my views as a parent. I think it amplified my views as a parent. The one thing that, that was different when my parents raised me, and this is not a knock against my parents. My parents, were great and did what they could do. There's a certain amount of a lack of ownership of my feelings. Boy, you better stop that crying, but you just hit me with a belt. Let me stop the crying. Like, that hurt. Like I barely am crying. This is a fair cry, right? But boy, you better stop all that noise and don't cry. So one of the things that I feel like it does for me is it says to me that I'm actually on a right path myself, because a lot of the personal choices that I make were easy to transfer to these two characters. He could easily be constantly on his son, like, you should be here helping me, better, this, but he's not. He recognizes that the man saw his mother get killed in front of his eyes. He has feelings for that, feelings that he owns, that he has to deal with, that I, as his father, cannot help him through. And if I am the thing that he feels is the reason for the loss of his mother, cool. Then that's a weight I'll carry, because I brought you into this world. That's a weight I'll carry. I'll take that because, you didn't ask to be here or to be in this situation, and I get it. And so for me, I feel like I'm hopefully that I am that type of parent, the parent that's allowing, that I'm showing love. I'm not ignoring you. I'm recognizing you. And I think Boyd recognizes Ellis, and then recognizes, even when this is what's dangerous. Parkinson's is kicking in. I'm going into unknown territory. You may lose both of your parents. And you may think that all the things that you did and said are wrong. You should know they're not. For me, I think that's what great parenting is. And so for me, it just made me think that, I think I'm on the right path. Of course, I'm going to find out in 20 years when my kids are in therapy how I screwed them all up. But until then, I think I'm on the right path. And I think Boyd is too. That's my answer.
Thank you so much. And I was happy that y'all reconciled. Like, y'all know you're not finna let your daddy go in these woods without talking to him.
And then he comes back and on his own, right? It's like, yeah, okay. And I love that reconciliation. I think it's two Black men there holding each other, being there for each other. Like that's an image we don't get to see, that kind of parenting, yeah, I love it. And I love it's me and him, and I love it every second of it. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Harold, it looks like you have another hit on your hands, man.
Well, I hope so, my friend. I really do hope so. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon or this morning, or on whatever coast or locale you may be at. On behalf of the world's largest group of Black critics, again, thank you for your time. And to you out there, thank you for watching this episode of AAFCA Roundtables.
And can I just say really quickly, thank you to all of you for being out there. Your voices are so wanted, needed, and appreciated. Thank you for being
here. We appreciate it.
Yes, sir. All right, have a great afternoon, you guys.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.